How's it going, Guardians? Shifty here, and today's video is going to be a solo flawless completion of the Shattered Throne dungeon on a Warlock. In this one, I'm going to be using my Void Warmind Cell build that I showcased in a video last week. Also, I'm going to offer commentary to give you tips along the way. Before I get into it, if you end up enjoying the video, make sure to hit that like button, and if you're new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe as well. Alright, so I'm going to start off by going over the loadout that I use at the beginning of the dungeon. I do a little bit of swapping throughout the dungeon, but I'll explain that along the way. So for most of the dungeon, I'm using Top Tree Voidwalker and Controverse Hold. For my weapons, I'm using Witherhoard for the entire dungeon. Then I have the Ikilos SMG, which I am using for most of the dungeon. However, at one point I do swap to a scout rifle just because I need the range. In addition to that, I do have the Taken Spec mod from the Last Wish raid, which I slotted in all of my legendary weapons. If you don't have the Taken Spec mod, I would recommend a major spec mod in most weapons. However, if your weapon is going to be primarily used for boss damage, I would put in boss spec. Then for my heavy weapon, I'm using the Tomorrow's Answer rocket launcher with lasting impression. Now you don't need to use this specific rocket launcher, but I would recommend using a rocket launcher with lasting impression. I do end up using this for the entire dungeon as well. And here are my armor mods. I'll quickly show you each piece of armor, and if you need to see anything in more detail, just pause the video. Before we jump into it, I do want to mention that I will swap to Eye of Another World for part of the dungeon. As you can see, I have the same mod setup between the two armor pieces. And since I will be using Eye of Another World for part of the dungeon, I do have a legendary arm piece set up to swap out for my Controverse Hold. Here are the armor mods for that. Alright, that is it for my starting setup. Now, let's jump into it. Alright, so for the opening of this dungeon, I would highly recommend pulling up a map. You don't have to, of course. You can kind of just run around the area to find out where you need to go, but it will make it go a lot smoother. I will link the one that I'm using in the comment section down below. Basically, what we're going to want to do here is take out groups of enemies. A symbol will appear which will tell us the next area to go to. At that next area, we'll have to defeat another group of enemies. At each section, there will be somewhat of a boss enemy that you have to defeat, as you can see here. When the boss is defeated, a symbol will go up. As you can see, I had a standing bird. So I'm going to use my map to head to that location. Throughout this area, there are going to be enemies that randomly spawn as well, so you have to be careful for that. This loadout should make it pretty easy to deal with them though. I just want to make sure I take out those Thrall. The one issue I have using this loadout for this section is there are snipers that are hard to deal with such short range weapons. Unfortunately, there are some ravenous Taken Phalanx that spawn at this section, so you have to be careful if you're dealing with the snipers as well. Always make sure to look at your radar to make sure that enemies aren't spawning around you. If they are, make sure you deal with them right away, otherwise they could take you out pretty easily. Alright, so here we are, the next boss of the area. I'm going to use my super. That should make this one fairly easy. You can see that I have a dragon blowing fire. So now I'm going to head to that area of the map. There is a shorter path to get there, but I want to avoid the sniper, so I'm going to backtrack the way I came from. If you do have a map pulled up right now, you'll have to visit every symbol on that map to complete this encounter. Again, here's another section where a bunch of Taken Thrall will spawn. The Void Warmind cell build that I'm using actually makes taking out these groups of enemies quite easy. So we're to the third boss. And now that all of the enemies are defeated, I have a single circular fish. So again, that's all this encounter is. You take out groups of enemies, then you head to where the next symbol tells you to go. This one is all the way across the opposite side of the arena. Boss enemy over here is a Taken Vandal, so you have to be careful because it will end up sniping at you. Luckily I did get a Wither Horde on it, so it will take some damage while I'm dealing with the other enemies. That was a close call there. I risked it going for that Warmind cell, but it worked out in the end. My symbol now is the Infinity Snake. So if you jump across this bridge to the Infinity Snake symbol, you will have some snipers that spawn, so you have to be careful for that. If you're quick enough, you can just jump right past them. The Wither Horde and rocket I placed on the boss was enough to take it out, so I can just deal with the enemies around me. Looks like I have the double circular fish symbol. That location is actually pretty close to where I'm at. I just have to jump across this broken bridge again. I want to try to avoid the snipers. But I have to go down to the lower level and off to my left. Over here there is a little bit of a cave that you can find the next boss and the next set of enemies. Alright, now that this boss is down, I can check for the symbol. The double-headed single snake. I'm going to try to take this sniper out. And this symbol should be located right behind the starting area. I have to be careful for those snipers. This boss will be an invisible Minotaur. Warmind cells are doing wonders for me in this encounter. Alright, I visited every other symbol in the area, so it looked like I had the diving bird symbol, so I'm going to head back to the beginning. That should be the last set of enemies that I have to take out before I can move on. So here we are back at the beginning. I'm going to Wither Horde the boss and then super. I'm actually surprised my super took the boss out because I hit the ground instead of actually hitting the boss. Either way, when you're done with that, you can drop down into this hole to move on to the next section. Once I land, I am going to swap to my scout rifle because I'll need a little bit of range for this next section. Here we are at the descent. I'm going to drop down this first ledge. I'm going to stand on this rock after I throw a grenade. Try to take out this Minotaur as well as some of the taken acolytes. Now I want to be a little careful here. I want to stick back here to take out these taken vandals. I may not get all of them, but I can weaken some of them and take a few of them out. I'm going to move on once I take out this vandal. There may be a couple more acolytes in the area. In fact, here's one more. Otherwise, I'm going to keep pushing forward and head up this staircase over here. There's going to be a phalanx off to my right. Once that phalanx is down, I'm going to jump up in the corner here, get up to the next level. This will allow me to take out an invisible Minotaur as well as a Vandal. As you can see, there is a Vandal up top still sniping at my direction and an invisible Minotaur across the way, as well as another Vandal. Here there will be another boss, as you can see, but I supered this one. Makes it pretty easy, especially with top tree Nova Bomb. The door is open to move on to the next section, but I wanted to clear the area out first. So this section I'm just going to take it slow because the enemies can overwhelm you if you're not careful, between the sniping hobgoblins and the fire shooting knights. So I'm just going to clear out both sides. So for the most part, the starting area of this room is cleared out. All I have left is this knight. The Wither Horde and my scout rifle should take it out pretty quickly. Now you can kind of see why I wanted to swap to a scout rifle for this part. Imagine trying to do this with Wither Horde, the Omnioculus SMG, and a rocket launcher. So I'm heading off to the left side. You can head off to the right side, but I'm just going to push forward to take out a few more enemies. See if I can hit this. And I did. I got the hit marker. Perfect. Alright, so for this part you can just do what I do. Slowly push forward as you need to. Like most challenging content, some sections of the dungeon are going to require a little bit of patience if you want to make sure you don't end up dying. That's why I'm taking this part slow, so I can just make sure I clear out all the enemies and don't get blindsided. Wow, I actually ran out of primary ammo here. Figured I might as well shoot another rocket since there's a little bit of heavy ammo lying around here. So now that the entire area is cleared out, I'm free to move on. Now we're at a part that may test your jumping skills. I tend to have a bigger problem with jumping across this area than I do with the ogres that spawn. So right when you enter the arena, there's going to be 2 ogres off to the right hand side. So there's going to be one close and then there's going to be one far. If you do end up pushing forward a little bit, you could end up spawning another ogre off to the left, just like this. Usually when that happens, I like to backtrack. If you are far enough away, the ogres can't shoot at you. If you are too close and they shoot at you, they can push you right off these edges. For now, I have all of the ogres cleared out, so I'm going to move on. I pre-shot a wither horde where an ogre will spawn, and I have a grenade there as well. Anytime that you push forward, more ogres will spawn and more taken blights will also spawn. So for this section, always make sure you keep your eyes peeled so you don't miss an ogre. That should have been the last ogre I had to deal with. There may be one far off to the right, but I should be out of its range. I am going to swap my weapon back to my submachine gun, my subclass to Middle Tree Dawnblade, and I'm going to do the armor swap I talked about earlier. I'm going to put Eye of Another World on and swap my Controverse Holdout for a legendary armor piece. So as you can see, I am maxed out on Wither Horde as well as rocket launcher ammo. If you're not, I would recommend using this Thrallway to take out some of the Thrall and try to generate some ammo for yourself. As you can see, taking out some of the Thrall, I got some heavy ammo drops, and Warmind cells make this part extremely easy to survive. I am getting quite a few heavy drops in here, I guess. Not that I need it, but I am getting it. If you don't need ammo, you can just follow the same path that I do to get through this section. Alright, we just have a little bit more of a jumping section to do before we get to the next boss fight. Here you can either go low or high. I'm going to go high. Just make sure you don't get shot off the ledges by the taken cannons. And now that we're done jumping, there's going to be some taken phalanx to deal with. For this part, you just want to be patient. You don't want to get shot at by multiple phalanx at the same time. They could easily take you out. Alright, now we're free to move on to what may be considered the most difficult boss fight in the entire dungeon. This ogre encounter is going to be a test of your skill. I'm just going to jump right into it. So I'm going to jump down into the arena. There's going to be 4 wizards throughout the arena, and you have to take those 4 wizards out and collect an item they drop. Once you've collected all 4 of those items, you can head to boss DPS. So one wizard will spawn here as well as a few other enemies. I'm going to throw a Witherhoard and grenade. Alright, so my Warmind cell was able to take the first wizard out. Destroy any Warmind cells that you see. It will help you take out enemies around the other wizards. So I'm going to head up here. Looks like one of my Warmind cells helped clear this area out besides this wizard. Again, shoot any Warmind cells that you can. Try to get Witherhoard on the wizards. Whenever you have a grenade or Witherhoard, make sure to toss it in the general direction of the wizards and adds surrounding them. Warmind cell, I'm going to shoot that. Alright, I've collected 3 of the items. As you can see, I have petitioners marked ×3 in the bottom left corner. I need to gather a 4th petitioner's mark from this 4th wizard to do boss DPS. When this 4th wizard goes down, I have to collect it. Then you want to dunk it in one of these 4 pedestals around the arena. As soon as I do that, I'm going to use my super. The boss's shield will go down. I'm going to put a Witherhoard to apply breach and clear on the boss. And then I'm going to spam my rocket launcher. This is why I put rocket launcher loader on my arm, so I could quickly spam rocket launcher shots. Lasting impression also boosts the damage of the rocket launcher, so it should easily take out Vorgeth in one phase. As you can see, that worked out really well. So my method was a lot less risky than using a sword, and it kept me safe. I'm going to swap my subclass back to Top Tree Nova Bomb, and swap my armor pieces back as well. I'm going to switch out the armor mods on Controverse Hold, so I have rocket launcher loader on that. This is the loadout I'm going to use for the remainder of the dungeon.
Respite at last. I will see.
The only thing between here and the final boss fight is some enemies and a little bit of jumping. For this section, there are 4 wizards. You can defeat them if you want to, but I'm just going to jump right past them. As you can see, I don't have a lot of heavy ammo, so I do want to take out some of these groups of enemies in these rooms. It also may be a bit risky to skip them otherwise, so I'm just going to take them out and see if I can get some heavy ammo drops. Looks like I got one. Perfect. Unfortunately, in this dungeon, you can't place rally banners, so you have to rely on enemy drops for ammo. I'm just going to stay up here to take out this captain. There are going to be a couple more captains as we move forward. Since there's heavy on the ground behind me, I am going to just shoot a rocket launcher here as well. The ammo would have just gone to waste anyway, so I might as well use it. Since I'm almost full on ammo, I don't really have to fight any more enemies, so I can just move past this area. Here we encounter some more taken captains. Nothing too big to deal with. I think one of them actually fell off the edge, which is nice. That was a pretty good shot. When you get to this room, you will be at the start of another Thrallway, although this one won't slow you, so you can simply jump past this Shadow Thrall. This is another area where you can actually gather ammo because the enemies will spawn infinitely if you want to. Just like that, I maxed out on my Wither Horde ammo as well. I'm going to sit back and take these Phalanx out because I don't want to have to deal with them trying to boot me off the edges. Alright, before the boss fight there is one final section of taking cannons. So as soon as that first one goes off, I like to push forward and try to take that hobgoblin out in the distance with Wither Horde. Perfect. I'm going to wait for this first one to go off, then make a dash for it. On a Warlock, I can actually make this jump, so I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to wait for that bottom one to go off. And one more hobgoblin, and now I can make my way to the final boss fight. There's just a couple of these lifts to get to the boss fight. This one should take me right there. So to start this, I'm going to Wither Horde, Rocket the Middle Knight, then Wither Horde again. That's going to weaken 2 of the knights pretty well. I'm going to Wither Horde the 3rd and throw a grenade to try to take care of the taken scions. My grenade should generate a Warmind cell. That will take out the remaining scions and do decent damage to the knights. Alright, I took out one of the knights. I took out a second of the knights that had Witherhoard on it. Now I just have to take this third one out and I can go for boss damage. Alright, perfect. Now I have to collect the 3 orbs that the knights dropped. And I can start boss damage. So what I'm going to do, Witherhoard the boss, throw a grenade, super, and then I'm going to be spamming my rocket. Anytime I need to refresh Witherhoard, I will. Otherwise, I'll be shooting rockets at the boss. And just like that, Witherhoard and a rocket launcher easily took out the final boss of the Shattered Throne dungeon. That is it for my solo flawless completion of the Shattered Throne on a Warlock. I hope that you enjoyed the video, and if you did, remember to like and subscribe. I just want to thank you for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.